There were many people screaming, and a man with his eyes closed stood among them. When he slowly began to open his eyes, a sharp headache hit him, and he started hearing countless voices crying out for their mothers and fathers. He asked, "What the hell is this place, and what is happening here?" As he became aware of his surroundings, he realized he was standing among many people inside a very strange room. He wondered who all these people were. When he looked up, he saw a woman surrounded by powerful energy. When he looked down, strange symbols appeared, glowing with a light he had never seen before and could not understand. After observing more closely, he realized the room was under attack by monsters. They were slamming against an illusory wall that surrounded the room. Everyone began trembling in fear, asking if this was some kind of prank and whether there were hidden cameras watching them. The protagonist thought, a prank? No, this is far too real. He did not understand what was happening. The last thing he remembered was having dinner at home with his sister. Then he received a notification on his phone. When he checked it, it was an invitation to join a game he had never heard of before. Even so, he clicked yes and accepted the invitation. That was the last thing he remembered. Now he was awake, surrounded by strangers in a bizarre room. At the door, a man was pounding on it, begging to be let out. Another man approached him, grabbed his shoulders, and asked if he knew what was going on, shaking him to wake him fully. He replied that he had no idea. Still, he felt that everything here was real. It did not feel like a simple hallucination. He felt normal, until suddenly the woman began to glow brightly. She spoke to everyone, welcoming them to this world and thanking them for accepting the invitation. Confused voices filled the room as people asked what invitation she was talking about. The woman explained that they had been selected as heroes who would save the continent from destruction. People began shouting, "Where are the hidden cameras? What is this supposed to be?" She continued speaking, telling them to focus on her words because everything she said was related to their survival. She warned that not everyone would be allowed to go to the continent, which left the protagonist confused. What did she mean? She went on to explain that only a small number of people would pass the tutorial and gain the opportunity to travel to the new continent. She repeated, "Those who deserve to go to the continent will be the survivors, and only the survivors." Then she explained that this place was called the starting point, and that it was shaped like a triangle. It was a safe room surrounded by a protective barrier. She added that essential survival items, such as drinking water, food, and weapons, could be found here. She also explained that in this world, people could obtain special classes, and some would gain unique traits. The protagonist thought everything sounded exactly like the games and novels he had read before. She said that all items and abilities were divided into 4 levels: common, rare, heroic, and legendary. They would now receive common-level weapons. At that exact moment, a monster slammed its fist into the wall of the waiting room, trying to break through the barrier. More monsters joined in, pounding the wall together until cracks began to form. The protagonist panicked, unsure of what to do. The woman continued speaking, saying that everyone came from different places and had different personalities. This place was designed to maximize their individuality and help them evolve. She assured them that they would soon understand. She then instructed them to open their status windows. People began shouting, "Status window!" When the protagonist finally opened his, he saw his information. His name was Lee Kyung-jung. He was 25 years old. He had a tendency to be a careful strategist. He had no class and no title. He wondered whether his strength of 10 and endurance of 11 were good or bad. He decided to check his traits and wondered if other people also had special abilities. When he clicked further, he discovered a heroic rank special skill called Mind's Eye. This ability allowed him to see other people's status windows and their hidden talent rates. At that exact moment, status windows began appearing before him. Kyung realized he could view everyone's status. He was surprised to see that most people had mediocre talents. Then he clicked on the general review section. It read, "Player Lee Kyung-jung possesses low-level talents. No matter how hard you try, you will never surpass level 3. Do not worry, however. Your intelligence and magic are strong. You will never need to wield a sword. The outcome is already clear." After reading this, he was completely shocked. He realized he was in serious trouble. He grabbed his head in frustration and anger, then angrily asked the status window if it really believed he was going to die like this. After everyone finished checking their statuses, the saint wished them good luck. The moment she finished speaking, monsters broke through the waiting room and began to attack the people inside. Screams for help echoed everywhere. Some quickly grabbed weapons and shouted that they had to fight to survive. At that moment, the protagonist looked at the status of a man holding a shield. He noticed the man had endurance at level 30 and a heroic talent. The protagonist smiled slightly, thinking that he had finally found his meat shield. Soon after, monsters attacked everyone at once, and some people were killed from the very beginning. The protagonist shouted at the shield bearer to take the lead, saying that he would support him. This surprised the man, who asked if the protagonist was truly ready to fight. Giyoung replied that he was, saying that they couldn't just stand still and wait for death. This made the shield bearer praise Giyoung, even though he believed Giyoung was not in good condition to fight. In the middle of their conversation, a strange big-headed goblin attacked the shield-bearer, but Giyoung reacted quickly and thrust his spear straight into the monster's throat. Giyoung shouted at the shield-bearer to pay more attention and not stand still if he wanted to survive. They started running while they could still hear the screams of other people around them. In Gyeong's mind, the only thing he could think of was that he had made the right choice. He had found an excellent meat shield to protect himself. Soon after, more goblins attacked them, but Giyoung continued striking them with his spear. At that moment, a goblin tried to attack Giyoung from behind, but the shield-bearer blocked it, asking if Giyoung was okay. Giyoung looked at him and thought that the man actually seemed to be enjoying a death to fight. This made Giyoung realize how useful he actually was. Giyoung thanked him and suggested that they quickly grab the items and then find an exit as fast as possible. For a brief moment, they felt relieved. Giyoung believed they would definitely escape, since they had finally found the exit. Just as they were about to leave, Giyoung heard someone screaming for help. When he looked back, he saw a man being devoured by several goblins. He hesitated for a moment, wondering if he should help him, but eventually decided to go over. For a split second, the man felt happy, thinking he was about to be saved. Then he realized Giyoung had only returned to grab a supply bag that was behind him. The man was completely shocked, understanding that this had been Giyoung's intention from the start. Giyoung immediately turned around and ran as fast as he could. The shield-bearer asked if he was not going to help that man, but Giyoung simply thought that the man was going to die anyway, and it was better to hurry and escape. The two of them kept running. Left behind, the man began to cry, realizing that he was doomed. Even while running, Giyoung thought that there was nothing he could have done, but he felt grateful to that man, because thanks to him, Giyoung would survive. The man even reached out his hand, begging for help, but he was already finished. After escaping, Giyoung and the shield-bearer hid inside a cell. The shield-bearer asked what they should do next. Giyoung replied that if he knew, they would not be in this situation. He thought that although the man was big, he was somewhat pathetic. Giyoung then said that first they needed to understand what kind of place this was. He asked if the man had ever played a video game. The man replied that of course he had. Who had not? Giyoung explained that this place had status windows, attributes, titles, equipment, and classes. He asked if it did not feel familiar, and told the man to imagine that they were inside a game. What would he do then? The man said he was not sure. Giyoung continued, saying that at the beginning of a game, you need to level up. there's probably a system that allows you to increase your attributes by killing monsters and obtaining a class. That must be how this world works. Even though it is difficult, they need to become stronger first. Giyoung placed the supply bag in the man's hands and said that fortunately they had weapons, shields, food, and water, which put them in a slightly better position compared to others. What they did not know was that a giant eye was watching them. When they noticed it, they were terrified and wondered why the monster had not attacked them. Giyoung activated his mind's eye and discovered that the creature was a low-level voracious demon with extremely poor vision and intelligence. He realized that the monster could not even see them. Giyoung told the shield-bearer to stay quiet and tightened his grip on the spear. The shield-bearer hesitated and told him not to do it, but Giyoung insisted, saying that they could defeat the monster. Giyoung charged forward and stabbed the Cyclops directly in the eye. He shouted at the monster to die, delivering several more strikes in succession. After a while, the Cyclops collapsed and died, and Giyoung gained 1 point in strength. Giyoung realized that everything worked exactly as he had thought. They gained experience by killing monsters. The shield-bearer was overwhelmed with emotion, staring at Giyoung in admiration. Giyoung found it strange, but walked up to him and told him to remember what he was about to say. If Giyoung could do this, then the shield-bearer could do it too. No, in fact, he could do even better, considering he had 30 points in endurance. The shield-bearer quickly asked Giyoung's name. Giyoung replied that his name was Lei Giyoung. The man happily introduced himself as Park Delugo and asked if he could call him Giyoung Ryung. Giyoung replied that he could call him whatever he liked. Next, Giyoung took the spear tip and began cutting the monster's skin. Delugo asked what he was doing. Giyoung told him to wait a moment. He measured and worked quickly, creating a kind of necklace that granted 1 additional point of endurance. Delugo was overjoyed and began to cry. Giyoung simply thought that, after all, this man was his sturdy meat shield. Delugo promised that he would listen to anything Giyoung said from now on. Giyoung responded that now they needed to leave as quickly as possible and obtain a class. As the two left the cell, they heard a strange noise, and the ground began to tremble. When they looked to the side, they saw a little girl crying and screaming in fear, being chased by several giant ogres. She desperately screamed for help. Giyoung told them to keep running, thinking that it was madness to face so many monsters at once. He wondered what on earth that girl had done. Giyoung activated his mind's eye and discovered that her name was Jung Hai. He noticed something extremely strange. All of her attributes were rare, and her magic was at a legendary level. Giyoung stopped in the middle of the path. Meanwhile, Delugo asked what they were doing, while in Giyoung's mind there was only one thought. That girl with legendary magical power would be a crucial piece in his game. After realizing how useful she could be, Giyoung shouted at Delugo to save her. Delugo hesitated and asked if just the 3 of them could really do it. Giyoung replied that he could see her coming from the corner, so at the very least they could help her escape. The crying girl ran towards them, and Giyoung called out for her to hide with them. She quickly moved behind them. At that moment, a monster appeared and charged at the 3 of them with a massive punch. Delugo blocked the attack with his shield, while Giyoung prepared to strike with his spear. Giyoung leapt forward and stabbed the ogre directly in the head, thinking that he needed to finish the monster as quickly as possible. He shouted for it to die while continuing his assault. Meanwhile, Delugo was already exhausted, but sensed the presence of more monsters. When he looked to the side, he shouted at Giyoung to dodge. Several other monsters were charging towards them. However, one monster was already right on top of Giyoung. Just as the monster was about to strike Giyoung, a flash of blinding light appeared before them. A mysterious person emerged and sliced all 3 ogres in half in a single motion. Giyoung and everyone else stood frozen in shock, wondering what had just happened. Giyoung looked up and saw the man approaching, surrounded by an overwhelming protagonistic aura. Their eyes met, creating an oddly dramatic moment. Covered in blood, Giyoung was stunned, unable to understand who this man was or where he had come from. Giyoung activated his mind's eye and discovered that the man's name was Kim Human. He was 22 years old, with a tendency towards careful strategy. His class was swordsman, and he possessed several titles, including Regressor of Altanos, Swordsman of the Beginning of Round 2, the one who failed, the one who endures sacrifice, and the Enlightened. When Giyoung read Regressor of Altanos, he was completely shocked. Regressor meant someone who had returned to the past, someone who had been given a second chance. There could be only one explanation. At that moment, Doyoung approached Haman and thanked him for saving their lives, asking who he was. Haman simply replied with his name. Meanwhile, Giyoung was fixated on Haman's status window, realizing that half of his attributes were legendary and the other half were heroic rank. The general report stated that Haman was extraordinary. Even though Giyoung could hardly believe what he was seeing, there was nothing he could say. In terms of agility and constitution, the gap between them was impossible to compare. Looking at that massive status window, Giyoung thought that this man was not here for the first time. He was essentially a veteran. Haman noticed Giyoung and commented that he seemed quite accustomed to places like this. He then asked who Giyoung was. At that moment, Doyoung pulled Giyoung into an embrace and introduced him as Giyoung Honyen, adding that he did not seem as experienced as Haman, who had cut down the ogres in a single strike. Haman replied that it was just luck. However, Giyoung could clearly see his skills, and it was definitely not luck. He discovered that Haman possessed a skill called Sword Specialist. Giyoung felt a surge of envy, admitting to himself that this man was incredible. He truly looked like the protagonist of a novel. Giyoung felt uncomfortable under Haman's gaze and grew nervous, unsure of what Haman was thinking. Did he know about Giyoung's ability to see other people's statuses? Deciding to keep up appearances, Giyoung forced a polite smile and introduced himself as Lee Giyoung, thanking Haman for his help as courteously as possible. Giyoung then extended his hand and asked if Haman was traveling alone and whether it had been difficult for him to reach this place. Haman replied that he was currently alone, but he had been gathering survivors and had already established a camp in a suitable location. This immediately surprised both Giyoung and Doyoung. "A camp? How many people are there?" Giyoung asked. Haman replied that there were 30 people, though only a few were capable of fighting. He invited Giyoung and Doyoung to join the camp, which made Giyoung grow serious. Giyoung thought that although Haman appeared gentle, he was actually a well-intentioned mediator and a skilled speaker who had built a proper survivor camp. Giyoung believed that staying with many people would eventually become an obstacle. However, when he observed Haman's aura, he understood that Haman truly was a regressor of Altanos and likely had a plan. Giyoung decided to maintain a good relationship with him and agreed to follow him. Doyoung asked if Haman had already received his class. Haman replied yes, that his class was swordsman. Doyoung became excited and praised him. Then Doyoung noticed a girl crying in the corner, the same girl they had saved earlier. He approached her, gently extended his hand, and said he would help her up. She looked surprised and thanked him. When Haman saw this, he asked in shock, "Who is she?" The girl replied that her name was Jung Hyan. Haman looked visibly happy and said, "It was a pleasure to meet you for the first time." Giyoung felt confused and thought, "Why is he so happy to see her? What does this mean?" Giyoung asked if she was okay. She said yes, but she clearly looked frightened and tightly clutched Giyoung's arm. Haman, on the other hand, thought that Haman must have been searching for her for a long time, since he was someone who had already seen the end of the world. He was probably trying to gather everything he could for his own benefit, including people. Rung noticed Giyoung lost in thought and immediately thanked him for saving her. The protagonist smiled and said it was nothing, which made her feel embarrassed. However, inside his mind, he was only thinking about Jung Rung, someone with explosive potential as a mage. Rung was interested in her, and he was a warrior experiencing this world for the second time. They were both valuable treasures. Smiling, Giyoung concluded that they would move together until the end of this world. He was determined to dominate or manipulate everyone around him. Sometime later, they arrived at Rung's camp. Giyoung thought that Rung truly managed to set up a camp and gather many people. Dokugo asked how he had found such a place. Rung replied that it was merely a coincidence, but Giyoung knew the truth. As a regressor, Rung knew about this location for a long time. At that moment, a short-haired woman ran toward Rung, shouting excitedly, saying that he was back, and asking if he had a good trip. She made a cute expression and noticed that he had brought new people with him. Her name was Jin. Giyoung grew thoughtful, wondering who she was, considering how affectionate she seemed. The woman said she had been worried because Rung returned so late and asked who the newcomers were. Rung explained that they were people he had recruited for the camp. At that moment, Giyoung activated his mind's eye. He saw that her name was Li Jin. She was 29 years old, with a tendency towards ambition and selfishness. Giyoung was completely perplexed. Rung was 22, and she was 29. Why did she behave like a teenager? He felt uneasy about her behavior. Her attributes were weak, except for her intelligence, which was 18 and ranked as rare. While reviewing her status, Giyoung was shocked even more. The status window claimed that she was his soulmate. Two manipulative swindlers. Giyoung felt irritated, thinking that the system was calling her his soulmate. What kind of ridiculous description was that? Still, her tendency was clearly ambitious and selfish, which continued to bother him. She then started chatting with Dokugo and asked for their names. He replied that his name was Park Dokugo, and the other man was Lee Giyoung, with the girl beside him. The girl introduced herself as Jung Rung and said it was a pleasure to meet them. She remained tightly clinging to Giyoung's arm. The two women looked at each other, and Jin felt uncomfortable with Rung, who appeared cute and fragile. Giyoung immediately noticed the calculating look in Jin's eyes. She was measuring the value of each person. She looked at Dokugo and likely judged him as valuable due to his strong constitution and equipment. Meanwhile, Rung was limping because of her injured leg, which caused her to evaluate her negatively. Jin became fascinated with Dokugo and asked if he was a tank or something similar. She said she felt he must have fought many monsters along the way. Dokugo replied cheerfully that he had not hunted alone. Everything was thanks to Giyoung. Without him, he would have died many times. Jin grew thoughtful, looked at Young from head to toe, and then, full of energy, said it was nice to meet everyone. She announced that she would guide them to the resting area first. She explained that the spaces were divided between men and women, so Rung would have to go with her. Before leaving, Jin approached Young with a bright smile and asked him to take good care of Rung. Young thought that this woman was completely shameless. He simply replied that he expected the same from her, reflecting that she was exactly like him. They truly were soulmates. As they walked through the camp, the people there looked happy and excited, seeing them as warriors. Even the elderly woman seemed delighted. As Young walked, he thought that this place was a safe harbor, but not for him. It felt like he would eventually become everyone's shield. The elderly woman was clearly pleased with the giant Dokugo. Soon after, night fell. In the middle of the night, Young and Dokugo were talking, asking each other if they had slept well. Young woke up during their conversation and spoke up. He said that he had been observing everything since the previous day and noticed that there were not many people capable of fighting. He apologized and asked Rung how he was maintaining this place. Rung admitted honestly that the situation was not good. They were almost out of water and supplies, and they lacked people who could fight. Even so, they were responsible for 30 people, and that number could increase in the future. Young stated that the supplies they had brought would run out quickly. Even though it was frightening, they would need to face monsters. Those who could not fight and only slept were dead weight. This made Rung visibly angry. He argued that they were not dead weight. Young looked him directly in the eyes and said seriously that they were. He added that he was not doing volunteer work here. Rung lowered his head, unsure how to respond. Dokugo asked if Young was suggesting that they should leave. Young replied that he was not. He simply meant that no matter how hard they tried, there was nothing here for them. Once again, Rung looked dejected, but then a light seemed to appear in his expression. Young continued, saying that even so, he could still fight alongside him and lend his strength, trying to sound as friendly as possible. He added that the same applied to Dokugo. This made Rung very happy, and he thanked him. Young continued, saying that he could imagine what Rung was thinking. He wanted everyone here to survive and escape together. Young could sympathize with that desire. However, he was different from Rung. He does not have the courage to sacrifice himself for others, nor does he have the desire to do everything together with everyone else. He could even call himself selfish at this point, but Rung interrupted him and said no. He understood exactly what Young was thinking, and of course there were things Young wanted as well. Young was quite surprised by this. With a faint, sinister smile, he wondered what he would do if Hung ever asked him to sacrifice himself in the name of some charitable soul. But Hung was far more receptive than Young had expected. Hung stepped closer and said that regardless of everything, he wanted to speak freely. With his future plans, he wanted Young to be part of them. This left Young visibly surprised. In Young's mind, he thought, "My beloved regressor, I cannot let you keep everything to yourself." After saying this and making Rilsung happy, Rilsung muttered to himself, "So he knew." That strange voice from the beginning had given them two choices. He remembered what the woman had said at the start, that only those who completed the tutorial could survive on the continent. Moreover, only those who deserved the continent would be the survivors. He commented that there were two options, attack and survive. But in Young's opinion, survival alone was even more impossible. If the plan was to survive without attacking, the best option would be to gather as many survivors who could not fight as possible. But even if they were not devoured by monsters, they would all die of hunger eventually. Young continued, saying that this was something not just anyone could interfere with. This made Rung fall into deep thought. After that, Rung said that he understood what Young meant. Young replied with his usual sinister smile. Rung then said that he was looking forward to working with him. Young thought that as a regressor, he was gathering valuable pieces. He replied that he was also looking forward to working together. As Young looked at him, he noticed that the way Rung looked at him had changed. Young knew he was not strong, but in Rung's eyes, he could be seen as a talented person, perhaps an analyst or an administrator. The next day, they were inside a dungeon, fighting multiple monsters. Dokugo blocked a monster with his shield, and immediately afterwards, Rung rushed forward to attack it with his sword. He quickly activated his sword skill and sliced the monster in half, splattering blood across his own face. The monster screamed in pain before collapsing. After the battle, Rung was slightly exhausted. Young stood off to the side, thinking, "The mind's eye never lied. This man truly is a skilled regressor." Ryosung then told Giyoung that there seemed to be more monsters ahead. He said he would hold them off while the others did what they needed to do. Giyoung replied that he knew what to do and told Dokugo to collect the food. Giyoung thought that there were still fewer monsters in the starting area than he had expected. Dokugo said that the place had been packed at first. They both concluded that Ryung must have cleared the area in advance. Dokugo asked if Giyoung was talking about Ryung and wondered if he had been some kind of martial artist on Earth. Giyoung replied that he had no idea, but he assumed it was something similar, or perhaps an effect of his class. When Giyoung mentioned classes, Dokugo became discouraged because he still had not unlocked his own. Seeing this, Giyoung told him not to be nervous and reassured him that he would unlock his class soon because he had worked hard. To be honest, Giyoung knew that Dokugo had not done much. Most of the work had been done by Ryung. However, Dokugo denied that and said he had worked hard too. Giyoung, pretending to be kind, told him that without him it would have been much harder to get this far. This made Dokugo's eyes fill with tears. At that moment, a status window appeared for both of them, announcing that their classes were being unlocked. Giyoung was surprised. He was given 4 classes to choose from: Common Warrior, Common Archer, Common Mage, and Rare Commander. He felt happy, thinking it had happened faster than expected. However, the Rare Commander class caught his attention. Commander? He thought. What is that? He began reading each class description carefully. The Warrior class fought on the front lines and was considered the most essential role in a group. Warriors could easily adapt to any weapon, such as swords, shields, spears, or axes. Additionally, their endurance, vitality, and strength would each increase by 1 point. This class could later unlock related classes like Barbarian, Knight, Paladin, Soldier, or Mercenary. Next was the Archer class, which specialized in long-range attacks. It could unlock classes like Spirit Archer or Magic Archer, and granted 3 points in agility. Then came the Mage class, which used long-range magic, and could unlock related classes such as Warlock, Alchemist, or Summoner. This class increased magic by 3 points. Giyoung thought that Archer was a great class for a relaxed playstyle, while Mage would help improve his low magic stat. Finally, there was the Rare Commander class. This class had no direct combat abilities. Instead of fighting on the front lines, it focused on understanding the overall situation and issuing orders to others. It granted a broad view of the battlefield, although it did not specify which classes could be unlocked later. The only stat it increased was intelligence by 1 point. Giyoung reflected on what that broad view of the situation truly meant. At that moment, Hyunsung approached them from behind and commented that it seemed Giyoung had unlocked a class. Giyoung replied that he had. He explained that he had received Warrior, Archer, and Mage as common class options. In addition, he also unlocked the rare class Commander. This left Hyunsung quite surprised. A commander, huh? Giyoung thought it would be a great class, but judging by Hyunsung's reaction, it did not seem that good. It might be a trap, perhaps. Meanwhile, Dokugo became very excited and insisted that Giyoung should definitely choose commander. He said that the position suited him perfectly. Giyoung was confused. Are you serious? He wondered. Dokugo went on, saying that Giyoung had the style of a commander, and that if he led them, they would surely always win. Just imagining Giyoung waving his hand and giving orders made him seem perfect for the role. Giyoung stood there quietly, laughing to himself, thinking that he was more of a trickster than a commander. Hyunsung, on the other hand, looked thoughtful. He pointed out that there were few immediate benefits to the commander class. At the very least, the other 3 classes increased attributes by 3 points from the start. Giyoung suspected that Hyunsung might be trying to stop him from choosing commander, but Dokugo kept insisting that he had to pick it. Hyunsung then said that he actually thought the warrior class would not be bad for Giyoung either. From the side, Dokugo shouted again that Giyoung should choose commander. Hyunsung added that it would be very helpful if Giyoung provided long-range support as an attacker. Dokugo, now irritated, insisted once more that commander was the best choice and that the class would reveal Giyoung's true strengths. The 2 of them began arguing. One said commander, the other said archer. Hyunsung argued for archer, Dokugo argued for commander. They kept going back and forth while Giyoung stood between them, completely unsure of what to do. Giyoung fell into thought. Their arguments only made him more confused. However, after carefully rereading the class descriptions, he reached a conclusion. Without a doubt, one option was the most efficient. When the confirmation window appeared, he selected his choice. Power surged through his body, but it ended almost instantly. That's it already, he thought. The 2 immediately rushed toward him, shouting and asking what he chose. Archer or commander? Which one? After letting them argue for a while longer, Giyoung finally said that he had chosen the mage class. Doki-go was completely devastated. He could not understand why Giyoung did not choose commander. Rilsung asked Giyoung for his reason, and Giyoung replied that it was simply his intuition. Rilsung said he understood, though he looked slightly disappointed that Giyoung had not chosen Archer. In truth, Giyoung had clear reasons. Archer was unsuitable because he was not good at using his own body. Commander was tempting, but it only increased a single stat. Compared to that, Mage offered 3 points in magic and allowed him to explore something completely unknown to him, magic itself. Now Giyoung had a total of 3 points in magic. He could already feel the difference in his body. It was as if new knowledge was filling his mind, constructing a kind of mana tower within him. When he checked his status window, he noticed a slight improvement. He received congratulations for acquiring a class. However, his overall evaluation stated that although it might be difficult for Giyoung to sense mana with his talent, he had, through extreme luck, gained 3 points in magic. The system recommended that he not place high hopes on growing as a mage, as the disappointment would be proportional to his expectations. This frustrated Giyoung greatly. He cursed the status window in his mind, but still acknowledged that he was not completely useless. This class would be useful immediately. After that, they asked Doki-go which class he had chosen. Doki-go said he had 2 options, Guardian or Priest, but he did not know which one was better. Both Rilsung and Giyoung immediately told him to choose Guardian. Doki-go hesitated and asked about Priest, but the two insisted, Guardian, you have to choose Guardian. In the end, Doki-go simply confirmed Guardian because they told him to. Giyoung said it was a good choice and thought to himself that Doki-go was now officially his meat shield. Rilsung congratulated both of them and asked if they should head back, suggesting that they should divide the food first. Giyoung said that 2 shares were more than enough for him and Doki-go, and he handed the rest over to Rilsung in a large bag. Rilsung was very happy and did not know what to say. Doki-go added that he was fine with it and that Rilsung could give the food to the others. Rilsung was deeply moved by their attitude and even blushed slightly. This situation was becoming stranger and stranger. He bowed and thanked them sincerely. Back at the survivor camp, Jin was talking with another girl. The girl asked when Rilsung would return because she was starving. Jin replied that he would be back soon and told her to wait a little longer. The girl said she wished he would come back faster. Nearby, a man who looked like a starving beggar noticed that Jin was holding bread. Jin asked whether they should eat it for now. The other girl said she would be grateful if Jin shared a little with her, while the beggar desperately pleaded for food. Jin stared at him coldly and asked what he was looking at and whether he wanted the bread. Then she split it, saying it could not be avoided. She gave half to the girl and tossed only crumbs to the beggar, telling him that for greedy people like him, who didn't even work, that was all he deserved. She mockingly called him a good boy and told him to eat properly. At that moment, she noticed the 3 of them returning. Everyone looked at them as they arrived, carrying several bags of food. Jin immediately ran toward Rilsung, smiling brightly, and thanked him and the others for their hard work. And now they go to load the baggage, and Rilsung says that he is counting on her for this job, while he is going to rest for a bit. Meanwhile, the protagonist thinks that this girl is really shameless. At that moment, another guy with glasses appears beside Giyoung and politely asks if Giyoung would let him carry his baggage as well. Giyoung just stares at him thoughtfully for a moment, then ignores him and walks away. Doki-go follows Giyoung, asking if he is not going to share the food with the others. The protagonist replies that he has said it many times. They are not doing volunteer work. Doki-go says that's true, but their reputation here will not be good. Giyoung answers that he doesn't care about reputation. If they want food, they should go out with their swords and earn it themselves. Maybe Rilsung even brought them here to motivate the others. Meanwhile, Ladina is distributing food to everyone, smiling brightly and saying it was nothing, while people thank her. The protagonist thinks that she is the type of person who takes full responsibility for administrative matters whenever Rilsung is not around. She is the typical kind of person who is weak to the strong and strong to the weak. She imagines her sitting on a throne, dominating Rilsung, basically acting like the queen when Rilsung is absent. He sees people in the back looking at them with admiration and happiness because they are finally eating, while others are carrying stones and working hard. This makes him deeply thoughtful. One of the people carrying the stones to build the small wall is the little girl earlier. A man shouts at them to hurry up because they are too slow if they don't want monsters to attack at night. He specifically calls out Ryan, asking why she is so slow. She gets nervous and only apologizes. The man continues, saying that if they do not want to starve, they need to work hard today. The protagonist watches the little girl, thinking that for some reason he feels like he understands what kind of treatment Ryan is receiving here, and that makes him extremely happy. He asks Dokigo if he remembers the girl they met yesterday, Jung-ran. Dokigo says yes, she's the girl he helped. The protagonist then takes a bag of food and tells Dokigo to deliver it to her and take care of her as well. Dokigo is very surprised and asks what this sudden request is about, but then misunderstands and says he understands and to leave it to him. Giyoung says that is fine and that he is counting on him. At that moment, Ryan is there, very sad, carrying stones. Giyoung thinks that Ryan must be tired and lonely, and that they are the only friends who can take care of her. He wonders if she thinks they are trustworthy, and if she knows she can always rely on them whenever she needs help. As Dokigo approaches them, he notices something strange. A man is giving Ryan a piece of bread, asking her to keep it, and she thanks him. The protagonist sees this and becomes irritated, staring at the strange man with glasses and thinking, "Who is this son of a bitch?" Watching the man smile at Ryan, he wonders how he dares get close to his precious treasure. To him, it is obvious why someone would be so kind, even when there is barely enough food for themselves. Dokigo looks at Giyoung uneasily, but Giyoung just tells him to go over there. Dokigo nods and starts approaching them. The man with glasses speaks to Ryan, saying he got the bread earlier. Ryan says she understands, and he offers the bread to her. She tries to refuse, saying she does not need it, but he insists, telling her not to worry and saying he recognizes how difficult her situation is. Ryan thanks him for his kindness, and he tells her not to worry so much. In Ryan's mind, she thinks this man is being very kind to her, but he cannot compare to Giyoung, who in her memories is her Prince Charming. She is already deeply in love with Giyoung and blushes just thinking about him. She reflects on how Giyoung saved her when she needed it most. The man continues talking and asks if it would be okay for him to get a little closer to her, saying he would like that. She feels happy and surprised, thinking he wants to be her friend, and says yes, that it is okay. Immediately after, she becomes shocked because the man touches her hand. She does not understand what is happening. The man's aura becomes strange, and when she realizes he is holding her hand, she asks him to let go. He replies that she just accepted, and she asks why he is suddenly doing this and begs him to please let her go. She becomes desperate, but the man turns psychotic and asks how she can be so bad at understanding the situation. She asks if she really thought he was doing charity for her. She does not understand what he means. He continues, saying that she should know how to repay a favor. She asks what he means, and he asks if he really needs to spell it out. He tightly grabs her hand and moves close to her face, telling her that if she wants to get along with him, she should please him, calling her an idiot for not understanding the situation yet. She becomes terrified and begs him to stop. At that moment, Dokigo arrives, calling the man a complete idiot and telling him that if he does not want his arm broken right now, he should let her go. The man gets furious and asks who the hell Dokigo is. Instantly, Dokigo strikes his arm, forcing him to release Ryan's hand. Ryan asks why he is doing this, but Dokigo says that this guy is trash and that he didn't even break his arm, saying he cannot afford to be soft. The man yells that Dokigo is a bastard for doing this, but Dokigo grabs him by the collar and throws him away, leaving Ryan completely shocked. At that moment, everyone hears the fight happening in the corner, and Dinye approaches to see what is going on, while the protagonist remains thoughtful, quietly eating his bread. The man with glasses suddenly starts screaming, claiming he is bleeding, but everyone just looks at him thinking he is a complete idiot. Dokigo says that he is acting like a crying baby and that he didn't even hit him that hard. Irritated, he adds that the man keeps screaming it's because he wants to be beaten until he cannot cry anymore. Ryan steps in front of him and tells him to stop, saying that she is fine now and asking him not to do this. Suddenly, the queen intervenes, ordering Dokigo to stop. She runs towards them, trying to understand the situation. She first goes to the man with glasses, asking if he is okay. His name is Sue. She reminds Dokigo that violence is forbidden here and asks what the meaning of this is. Dokigo explains that the man was harassing Ryan and grabbed her arm. He says he saw everything with his own eyes, which is why he attacked him. Dinye asks Dokigo if this is true, but the man with glasses quickly says that it is not. Dokigo, confused, asks how this man can refuse to take responsibility. Sue tries to smooth things over, saying he was misunderstood when he held her hand and that it was just an accident. Dokigo accuses him of being a coward, while Dinye asks Sue to explain the situation. He says he only wanted to get closer to Ryan, and she agreed, but that he probably misunderstood her. Dinye quickly turns to Ryan and tells her not to stay silent and to say something. She asks if what Sue said is true. Ryan becomes nervous as everyone looks at her. Terrified, she only notices all the eyes fixed on her. People begin whispering, wondering why these men are fighting over her and if she is some kind of heroine. She becomes desperate, thinking that this place is just like Earth, that no one is on her side, and that everyone has abandoned her. Through tears, she says that what he said is true, but that after that he grabbed her arm and kept saying that if she wanted him to leave her alone, she had to do what he told her. That terrified her. Jan says she does not understand what Ryan means. Ryan does not know how to explain herself. Jan then says that in the end, the truth is that Sue wanted to get close to her, and she agreed. Ryan, desperately and crying, says that this is true, but it is not that simple. She didn't know what that meant. She apologizes. Dinye says that Ryan is acting like a child by crying now, and asks if she thinks crying will solve the situation. She also tells Dokigo that the way he acted was not right. She says she is grateful that he helped a girl she thought was in danger, but in this situation, it is impossible to know who is right or wrong. The queen bows slightly and apologizes, but says that apologizing won't solve anything. She places a hand on Sue's shoulder, gives a malicious smile, and says that at the very least, someone needs to apologize to the victim. She adds that here, one must apologize to the victim. This makes Ryan extremely nervous, because she is being told to apologize to that man. She is told she must kneel and beg for forgiveness. Dokigo feels very uncomfortable, not knowing what to do, while Ryan trembles and cries. At the moment when she is crying and apologizing, the protagonist smiles faintly and thinks that now is the perfect time to step in. He walks towards them and asks what is going on here. After arriving, he believes that what happened between the two of them is not his business. What matters most now is that Ryan is being cornered. Jin says that he arrived just in time. The protagonist asks if she has gone crazy, and she immediately asks what he means by that. He asks if she thinks this place is a playground, and what she plans to do if her loud voice attracts monsters here. This makes everyone tremble with fear, wondering if what he says is true. Jin tries to explain the situation, but the protagonist interrupts, asking what the real problem is. He says he saw what happened from a distance and has a general idea of the situation. He reminds her that, as she herself said earlier, this is a situation where it is still unclear who the victims and attackers are. He asks if she can guarantee that Sue is innocent, which makes her freeze. She looks extremely uncomfortable. The protagonist thinks that of course she cannot. The moment she says she is certain, all responsibility will fall on her. He says that the image of everyone uniting against a possibly innocent person would not be something Rung would find pleasant if he found out. This makes everyone, including Dinye, tremble with fear. He approaches the queen and says that from what he can see, she is not the kind of person who would do something like this. He thinks what he is doing now is forced, purely forced, but it is the best he can do in this situation. This makes Ryan blush and feel very happy that he is helping her. Jin starts shouting, asking how he could possibly know what happened here, and how many days have even passed since they met. The protagonist tells her to pay attention. He gives an example, saying that if a friend you just met at school says, "Let's get along from now on," does that mean they want to sleep with you? Jin becomes furious. He continues, saying that being close does not mean physical contact, and tells everyone not to be swayed by the general consensus, but to think carefully instead. People begin to say that honestly, what Giyoung said is not a lie. Thinking about it carefully, it really was somewhat forced. Din becomes frightened when she realizes that he has completely turned the situation around. The people start saying that Din went too far and that they can understand part of what Giyoung is saying. She becomes extremely nervous and asks why they are siding with him. Immediately, she turns toward Giyoung and asks if he is satisfied now. However, when she turns around, she is completely shocked to see the protagonist basically laughing at her. At that moment, she realizes that she has picked a fight with someone she never should have. As he looks at her desperate expression, he thinks that she needs to take her time and pay attention to everything. In this scene, he is essentially stealing her throne. He is now the king of the camp, while she is left cornered, not knowing what to say. Ran, standing beside him, is also very nervous. Giyoung then asks why everyone is still gathered there and says it would be a good idea for Soo to be treated first. He orders the two men in the corner to take care of him. The man with glasses responds that he understands. Giyoung then tells them to make sure the area is cleaned and everything is prepared for when Rung returns. Because of what happened earlier, monsters might gather nearby, so he tells Dokug to take charge of the patrols from now on. Dokug replies that he understands and will handle it. Giyoung then asks Ran to follow him for a moment because he wants to talk. Ran agrees and goes with him, while the others look on in confusion, wondering if that girl somehow managed to seduce him. Meanwhile, Ran walks nervously behind him. Giyoung thinks that she should not pay attention to what others are saying. What matters is that she is now in a position to receive favor from the one in power. Din becomes very nervous as she watches the situation completely reverse against her. They move to a quiet corner to talk, and Giyoung asks Ran to sit down. Trembling and nervous, she apologizes, saying she never expected something like this to happen. He tells her that he knows and that he is not trying to blame her. What he wants is for her to tell him what happened in a way that makes her feel comfortable, wearing a gentle, kind smile. She becomes emotional, wipes her tears, sits down, and says she will explain everything that happened. With a tearful expression, she says that Soo grabbed her hand and shouted many things at her. Giyoung reacts with a concerned expression and asks what happened, telling her she can talk to him. Crying, she explains everything from start to finish, including how Dokug eventually struck him. Giyoung listens quietly, processing her words. He cannot fully focus on every detail, but he knows that the most important thing right now is empathy. He tells her that it must have been difficult for her. She replies that it was not that bad, and that she feels a little better now. She smiles faintly and thanks Giyoung. He says there's nothing to thank him for, and that given the circumstances, it was only natural to help her. She shakes her head and says that's not what she meant. She thanks him for believing in her, saying that since they met, she has only received help from him and the others, and has never been able to do anything for him. She asks why he is so kind to her. He gives her a shameless little smile and says that he simply did what was right. If he had to give a reason, he says it is because he has a younger sister back home who's about her age. He recalls that his younger sister was not particularly kind or cute, only barging into his room to ask for money. He says that whenever he looks at Ran, he reminds him of his sister. In his mind, however, this is a complete lie. His sister has nothing in common with Ran, but using the image of a younger sister helps create empathy. Ran apologizes and says she should not have asked. He tells her it is fine and asks if she has any siblings. She says she has 2 sisters, but it has been a long time since they contacted each other. He asks about her parents, and she replies that they are not here. He says that they are similar in that way. She asks if that is true for him as well, calling him Giyoung. She becomes very happy, saying they are a little alike. Giyoung gives a fake smile and agrees, thinking that similarities make it easier to build empathy and increase the affection she feels for him. He tells her that if she doesn't mind, he would like her to feel comfortable talking to him. This is purely driven by his greed, but she looks surprised and nervously agrees, saying she will speak comfortably with him. He tells her that is fine. She says she feels calmer now. In his mind, he thinks that she will be very useful in the future. He activates the eye of the mind and checks her status. She still doesn't have a class, but her stats are extremely high. The overall evaluation says that her potential is monstrous, and if she becomes a mage, she will reach a level completely different from the player Lake Giyoung. He doesn't need to worry much about competition. He thinks that what he needs to do now is push her to advance into the mage class as soon as possible. Ran stands nervously in front of Giyoung, and he wonders if he should mention something about magic to get closer to her. At that moment, someone approaches and knocks lightly on the wooden structure, asking if they can speak for a moment. Both of them are surprised to see who it is. The person asks to speak to Giyoung. As soon as Giyoung hears the voice, he realizes who it is. He expected her to come looking for him, but not so quickly. He drops his smile and asks Ran to excuse them for a moment, because he needs to talk privately. Ran steps away, saying she understands, and the two women pass each other, locking eyes briefly. The newcomer approaches, and Giyoung directly asks what she wants. Without hesitation, she says that she came to apologize for the trouble she caused. Giyoung replies that it is fine and that he should be the one apologizing for getting involved. She insists that it was her mistake and that he only did what was necessary. Giyoung becomes suspicious, thinking that something feels off, and asks her to get straight to the point. She then asks if he would allow her to handle this problem. After reflecting, she says she feels bad for both Ran and Sue and wants to resolve the situation herself. The protagonist tells her that she can do whatever she wants. After all, it seems that she has been taking care of this place from the beginning, and he was the one who made a mistake by getting involved. She explains that this is not what she meant, but the protagonist insists that this is how he sees the situation. With a calm expression, he adds that it would be better if there were no more problems that required his interference. In his mind, both of them know very well that for people like them, who have nothing and no special talent, the only way to survive is to get involved in politics. She listens seriously to everything he says. He thinks that she is just like him, someone who wants to take control of everything and everyone. He is essentially giving her an ultimatum not to cross the line. She then stands up, sits beside him, grabs his arm, and says that she understands what he means. She says she will not cross any boundaries and apologizes for causing trouble. He replies that she didn't cause that much trouble. In his mind, he wonders what this girl is doing all of a sudden. She simply gives him her usual smile and says that she is being serious, adding that she knows exactly what he is thinking right now. She looks directly at him and says that she likes ambitious people, revealing her true face. She says that the more she looks at him, the more he seems to be her type. She asks what he thinks about them becoming a little more friendly. The protagonist asks what he would gain from that. She answers, Jung Ryan. He asks if she is not trying to control him in order to get close to that girl. He notices that she is quite intelligent. She continues, saying that the girl is weak, so she is certain that Ran will have many enemies like Sue. Because of that, she will take care of Ran, and he should understand what she means. He feels pleased for a moment, and thinks that Lindier is truly like him. The two of them move closer, and she says that this is exactly the case. The protagonist thinks that she really is his soulmate. They kiss, forming the most dangerous couple in this story. After a few days, a platform is set up, and Mr. Giyoung stands there apologizing for worrying everyone. He also says that he would like to apologize to Miss Ryan. The people around them don't understand what that man is doing. They wonder if Giyoung ordered him to do this. Now that he is apologizing, it seems that Din is left powerless. From the looks of it, Giyoung has more influence than Din does, though they don't know that all of this was already arranged between the two of them. People start wondering what that girl has that attracts so much attention from these men. The protagonist looks serious as he thinks about the conversation they had that day. He says that in any case, she can deal with Sue however she wants, and also take care of the queen for him. He asks her to inform him immediately if anything happens. Smiling brightly, she says that in short, he is asking her to manage things properly so people won't complain anymore. Meanwhile, all she needs to do is create an environment where Ran has no choice but to depend on him. He agrees, and she becomes curious, wanting to know what is so special about that girl that makes Giyoung so obsessed with her. He turns serious and refuses to answer, saying that it is nothing she needs to know. His tone makes her freeze in place. She becomes embarrassed and wonders why he spoke to her like that. Afterwards, he thinks that Lindier is truly incredible at politics, and the atmosphere between them completely changes. Honestly, he believes it was the right choice to join forces with her. Thanks to that, he can now spend time alone with Ran. Ryan is crying as she talks to him, sharing all of her worries, while he feels exhausted by the conversation. She tells him that it is a relief that he is here, and that he's been teaching her magic throughout these days. Smiling, he says that he is relieved that she is keeping him company. He thinks that learning magic together is the best way for them to grow closer. He then says that there is something more important he wants to check. He asks how her basic magic is going. She replies that she still does not understand it very well. He says, "Really? Then I will teach you again." As he gives a command, a voice responds, "Flames." He creates a small flame on his fingertip, leaving her completely amazed. She becomes very happy, thinking that he is incredible. He thinks that, in truth, he has not only been focusing on the queen during these days, but has also been improving his own abilities alongside Dokugo, adapting to their new guardian and mage classes. He explains to her that visualization is important. If she wants to conjure flames like that, she needs to chant an incantation while imagining a real flame. She says that, as expected of him, the problem is that all the incantations she has obtained are too fantastical. He explains that, in her case, the situation has not changed yet. It may be that she still cannot use magic properly because of her class, but even so, she will soon go hunting with them alongside Rung's son. They begin practicing, and she happily says yes, telling him to leave it to her and that she will do her best. After seeing how cheerful and adorable she is, he says they will stop for today. She becomes sad and does not want him to leave, saying that she still has not understood everything very well. She adds that her mana increased again. Hearing this, he feels delighted, thinking that his precious treasure is working hard and growing faster than he expected. He believes that she will obtain a class soon and wants to see how far she will go. He activates the eye of the mind and looks at her smiling brightly, only to realize that she has already obtained the mage class. He is completely shocked to see that she also has a tendency toward the priestess of purity path. In her overall evaluation, it states that her talent is heroic, that she has acquired a perfect understanding of the fundamentals and basic knowledge of mana and magic, that her mana stat has permanently increased by 2 points, and that her growth potential has increased dramatically. He feels completely shocked and thinks, "What is this? She is already a mage." When he looks at her, she becomes very nervous and starts saying that she still does not understand everything and is asking for his help because she doesn't really know how to use her mana yet, acting all cute. In his mind, however, he knows this is a complete lie. He becomes uneasy, wondering since when exactly she has been lying to him. As he watches her tug on his shirt, he asks himself why this girl is lying to him. After being distracted for a moment, she asks what he is thinking about. He apologizes and says that he had something on his mind. Then he asks if she wants to learn how to use mana properly, and she answers yes, saying that even while following his instructions, she still finds it very difficult. He thinks, how is it difficult? Looking at her status window, she is clearly a mage. She is being completely shameless right now, and her talent is monstrous. He says that in that case, they will create an image together. She becomes very happy and smiles brightly. He wonders what this girl is planning. He explains that for now, she should imagine a flame coming from her hand and do exactly as he says. She agrees. He takes her hand, which makes her extremely nervous, and at that moment, while she is distracted, she manages to summon a small flame at the tip of her finger. When she realizes she succeeded, the flame immediately goes out, and she says, disappointed, that she still cannot control it very well. She becomes teary-eyed, but the protagonist thinks that she is completely shameless. He is certain that she failed on purpose, though he does not know what she ultimately wants. She asks if he can help her one more time, but he says they will stop for today because he has other things to do. She asks if he can help her tomorrow instead, and he agrees. At that moment, another girl arrives asking for Giyoung. It is Park Ryujung. She approaches him and asks if he has a moment. He thinks that she is Dine's lackey and also the messenger she sent since that day. He has been seeing her often since the incident with Se, but he does not know what she is planning today. In the corner, Ryan is clearly annoyed that her conversation was interrupted. Giyoung says it's fine and that they can talk. He tells Ryan he'll see her tomorrow. Smiling, Ryan agrees and says it's a promise that they will see each other tomorrow. Park Ryujung looks uncomfortable at Ryan, wondering what she is doing, pretending to be so cute. Giyoung asks what happened, and she says it's nothing serious. She just heard that the members for the next hunt will be announced tomorrow. He says that's correct. She adds that if it's not too late, she would like to participate. Giyoung activates the eye of the mind, wondering if she is good enough, and sees that her stats are acceptable. Still, he says he is not sure. He plans to recommend Ryan first, and asks if there is any reason she wants to join. She asks if they don't need people who can fight, and says that she thinks it would be better to take her instead of that girl. Giyoung knows that Ryan has immense talent, and this woman is basically talking nonsense. How can she say something like that about a future great mage? He says that he will talk to Rung Sun first, but she should not expect too much. Even so, she replies confidently. The next day, Dine calls everyone's attention, saying she has something important to announce about the hunt. She stands there with the three main fighters, the warriors of the group. People gather around the platform to hear what Giyoung is going to say. He first thanks everyone for being there. In one corner, Ryan stands alone, without any friends. Dine explains that they have decided it is very difficult to continue surviving like this, so they plan to take people who are willing to fight to help them gather more resources. As she continues explaining, people start whispering that Young Hai will definitely go on the hunt because she is very close to Lik Jung. Ryan hears only the name Lik Jung echoing in her head. She covers her ears so she doesn't have to hear what others are saying about him, thinking that her heart almost burst earlier. The only person she can trust in this place is him, and she will definitely be able to see him again tomorrow. She feels guilty for lying to him, but she feels she needs to do it to keep his attention. Blushing deeply, she thinks that tomorrow she will receive his affection all to herself again. At that moment, someone bumps into her. It is that same girl. She says she was startled, then starts asking if Ryan is waiting for Giyoung to come talk to her later, asking if Ryan is a stalker or something. She adds that this must be why Ryan looked at her like that yesterday, saying she got irritated seeing her talk to Giyoung. Ryan says it's not like that and tries to explain. The girl interrupts and says, "What do you mean? Anyway, you look like an idiot with that face." She adds that she can tell just by looking at her that she likes Lik Jung. This makes her extremely nervous. The girl steps closer and asks if Ryan really believes Giyoung cares about her, making her tremble. She continues, explaining that Ryan only managed to join the same group as Giyoung because she was lucky, and that she is deluding herself thinking that Giyoung likes her too. She says that Ryan might not know this because she is an idiot child, but she knows how people really are. People like Lik Jung don't trust others, and they grow tired easily. Once they no longer need you, they throw you away without hesitation. She continues, saying that crybabies like Ryan are the type they get tired of fastest. Ryan becomes deeply shaken, repeating in her mind that Giyoung is not like that, he is not like that, and she tells the girl to shut up. Trembling, she insists that he is not like that, but the girl keeps talking, saying that once again she is making that same foolish face. In this way, she can see why Lik Jung chose her, and she asks, "What do you mean? What are you talking about?" The girl points directly at her face and says that it is something enjoyable to throw away after using it however one wants. She says that Giyoung is only a little kind to her and that Ryan clung to him. She bets that all the people who were kind to Ryan before abandoned her one by one. She asks if that is not the case, then says that she is right. Ryan begins thinking about her past, about how everyone, even her sisters, left her. The girl continues telling Ryan that before Giyoung throws her away, she needs to take as much as she can from Giyoung, otherwise other people, including herself, will steal him away. Arrogantly, she says that the key point is that she fits better with Giyoung than Ryan does, and Ryan is an idiot if she can't understand that. The conversation ends with the announcement that, for the next hunt, they will take young Hyan and Park Ryo-young as a test. The girl becomes excited and tells Ryan that she really managed to depend on Giyoung once again. It seems that he also placed her in the group just as she asked. Now she says she is busy and leaves. Before going, the villain bumps into Ryan and says she will see her on the next hunt if she manages to come. After that, Ryan collapses to the ground, completely shaken. Crying, she thinks that Giyoung is not like that. Giyoung has always been gentle and kind to her and promised that they would practice all day together. She feels happy remembering that they practice together every day. She remembers him telling her that she is like family to him and that they would work hard together. She thinks of all the times he was good to her, remembering the day he defended her and said that Ryan would never do something like that. She thinks that she may be stupid and slow, but as far as she knows, Giyoung truly likes her. She looks at that girl climbing onto the stage and thinks that everything she said was horrible lies. Giyoung cannot listen to her, and he cannot throw Ryan away. At least not him. Please, no. Crying, she imagines what might happen, thinking that Giyoung could be kissing that girl right now and discarding her. In her mind, she hears Giyoung telling her that he was only being nice to her, that she deluded herself, that he is irritated by her following him, and that she is crazy and annoying. In her thoughts, he only played with her and threw her away. She becomes desperate and begs the voices in her head to stop, because he is not like that. She does not want to see him like that. She hates those thoughts and pleads for them to stop. In her mind, she imagines Giyoung saying that he hates her. She keeps thinking about Giyoung holding that girl's hand and getting close to her. She begs that girl to take her hands off Giyoung, saying that she cannot do that she cannot take him away from her. She remembers the girl's last words, that she is better suited to be beside Giyoung than Ryan is. Her mind completely shatters, and she can only think that this cannot happen. She becomes utterly desperate, her eyes turning red. And here, the greatest psychopath of this story is born. Just wait and see. Now the scene returns to a few minutes earlier. Hyunsung is speaking to the people in the camp, apologizing for gathering everyone while they are busy. He explains that the food and drinkable water they have is not enough for the total number of people now. Because of this, they have decided to conduct an adaptation training outside with those who are willing to fight, saying that this is the right thing to do. He asks Giyoung to step forward and show them. Giyoung activates his flame magic, which surprises everyone because he is using magic. He begins explaining that everyone there should know that this place is not like the Earth they know. There are status windows, skills, and classes. In other words, it is like a world inside a game. In this game, his class is mage. However, he is still a beginner, an ordinary person just like all of them. In the beginning, he was almost always running away and hiding from monsters because he was afraid. But if they fight without fear, they will gain the strength to overcome the monsters. He says they need to be more proactive and grow stronger together as a group so that everyone can survive and escape together. The people begin cheering and celebrating, saying they will fight with all their strength together. Hyunsung says that this is a great responsibility. Giyoung replies that he imagines their feelings may have changed a little. Dakgo says that even so, it is better than starving to death. They then announce that they will take two people as a test, Jung Hyan and Park Ryo-young. As Ryan steps forward, people congratulate her. She reaches out to shake Kyung's hand, saying that she will be under his care. He takes her hand but leans close to her ear and speaks softly to Miss Ray Young. She asks what he wants to say. He tells her that he just saw her pushing Ryan earlier, which leaves her completely shocked. He says this is just a warning and that he will let it slide for now so we can get along. However, he tells her to remember one thing. If she messes with Ryan again, things will become very difficult for her. He says he hopes she understands the warning. She immediately starts trembling and says that she understands. And so he disguises it with that completely shameless face and says that now they will give their best together. But all he is really thinking about is that he needs to control things on his side, and this is the perfect moment to get closer to Ryan. And provoking an unstable person more than this is not a good idea. Thinking that, in any case, since Ryan is not moving forward, when he looks at her in the back of the crowd, he notices that psychopathic expression on her face and immediately starts to feel terrified. And then he wonders what is happening and why she is looking at him like that. But Dakgo looks at him and asks what is going on. Why is he sweating cold? Is he feeling sick? Kyung says that he is just feeling a little unwell. Dakgo tells him that they are going out tomorrow, so it would be better for him to rest today because he has been spending day after day thinking about the people in the camp, and that from now on he should think a little more about himself. Little does he know, guys. Then Dakgo comments that the food everyone has been eating lately is garbage, and it's not like he is worried about Kyung or anything, but at least he should grab some bread. And then Ryan turns off that psychopathic mode of hers, looks at our boy, and gives him a little wave. He smiles back, thinking that he must have imagined something wrong. But that extra girl just keeps staring at him with a disgusting expression, remembering that Kyung threatened her. She thinks that this guy has already figured out what she was doing, and everything she has done so far will be ruined. She worked extremely hard to get here, even going as far as becoming an assistant to Jin-hee, and everything she did was simply to survive. Then Jin-hee approaches her and tells her that she needs to do well on tomorrow's expedition, and asks her to take special care of people like Kyung. At that moment, she realizes that Jin-hee has completely submitted to him as well, and she asks if she should act like his servant too. Jin-hee looks at her with that expression and says that if necessary, then yes, she should. She asks if that is not the kind of thing she likes to do, and what is so bad about building connections with capable people. She says she is not the type of person who likes to make bets, so she wants her to give her absolute best during the hunt. The extra girl thinks that she is already at terrible terms with him, but she keeps staring directly at Kyung while he tries to pretend to be the most innocent person in the world. She thinks that this guy appeared out of nowhere and immediately jumped straight toward power and money. He is definitely not someone to be underestimated. And then she realizes that she is completely screwed. If she lowers her head to Lee Kyung when that happens, she will truly be inferior to that useless loser Ryan, which would make all her efforts so far completely meaningless. She thinks that this absolutely cannot happen. For that not to happen, she needs to stay on good terms with Kyung. Only then will she be able to survive. And now it is already the next day. They are ready to carry out the first hunt of the day. Il-sung tells Dakgo that the two of them will stay at the front line, while Young, Ryan, and Ray Young will provide support from the rear. He says that in particular, he wants Ryan and Ray Young to pay special attention to their own safety, since it is their first time in a real battle. He keeps talking, but our boy is not listening at all. He is just staring at Ryan, who is paying close attention to what Il-sung is saying. He thinks that the dark expression she had earlier must have been something he imagined. To be fair, he may have been focusing too much on Ryan lately, and it is possible that he is just overthinking things. Then she looks at him and gives him a small smile, and he smiles back, thinking that from now on he should just keep an eye on her. In the back, that extra girl looks extremely uncomfortable. Kyung thinks that at that moment he had no idea how shocking their journey would be. Now they are already in the middle of the battlefield, fighting against those monsters. Il-sung finishes off several goblins, with Kyung and Dakgo helping him. The two girls are terrified in the middle of so many monsters. Our boy grabs a spear and drives it straight into one of the goblins' heads. From a distance, Ryan watches and thinks that he looks really cool. Meanwhile, the extra girl just stares at her, completely terrified. After finishing off several goblins, Doc Go says that there are way more than usual. Little Sung says he has a strange feeling and asks everyone to please be careful. At that exact moment, Giyoung shouts that a monster is coming from Doc Go's left. When Doc Go looks, a gigantic monster is already charging toward him. He quickly raises his shield to protect himself, activates his class ability, and manages to force the monster to retreat. He starts shouting for them to kill it quickly because it will be hard to hold it back any longer. Our boy then tells Ray to go and pierce it. She asks how she is supposed to do that. He says that she just needs to stab it with the spear she is holding. He keeps asking why she is not doing anything, telling her that she needs to hurry up and kill the monster. She is extremely nervous, thinking that this is far harder than she imagined. In her mind, she just wants to get out of this as fast as possible, but she cannot move. She knows she has to kill the monster somehow, but she cannot even look directly at it. Our boy wonders where that willpower she had before went. He moves behind her and says, "Ray Young, if you act like this again, all of us will die." He asks if she understands. Then he helps her hold the spear and tells her to put strength into her arms. He helps her drive the spear deep into the monster's chest and tells her that it is not dead yet and that she cannot relax her arms. He tells her to think of the monster as if it were just meat, which makes her think that he is completely insane. He keeps forcing her to attack the monster again and again until it finally collapses on the ground, defeated. She collapses as well, completely traumatized. He tells her that this was the first and only time he would help her, and that she cannot rely on others in this place. She should be grateful that today was only training. Next time she will have to survive on her own. She can only think about how yesterday she was full of confidence, rubbing it in Ryan's face and calling her a loser. Now she keeps replaying her own words in her mind, that people like Giyoung get tired of others easily, and when they no longer need them, they discard them without mercy. She wonders what she was even expecting from this guy. She could be the next one to be thrown away at any moment. Then he taps her on the shoulder and says that at the very least she did a great job. She thinks to herself that this guy is completely shameless and insane. From a distance, Ryan sees him touching her shoulder and activates her psychopathic personality once again. After that, they are resting. Hyunsung is talking with Ryan. He asks if she is close to Dakigu, and she says yes. He thanks her for staying awake on guard duty with him, then stands up, walks over to Dakigu, and says that it is time to change shifts. The big guy wakes up and says that Hyunsung certainly has great stamina. Hyunsung just thanks him for the compliment and says that now it is his turn to stand guard. Our boy, sitting in the corner, keeps thinking that maybe it is because of his anxiety, but he cannot sleep and he cannot stop having unnecessary thoughts. After all this crap is over, he will have to decide which path to take to survive. This place called the continent, the place mentioned in that strange message at the beginning, where exactly is it, and what is the reason they were brought here? It's not like it has any connection to Earth. Now that he thinks about it, Hyunsung is a regressor, and he wonders if he really knows everything that is going to happen. He imagines Hyunsung's story and what happened in his past for him to return to this point in time. Eventually, he manages to fall asleep, but he suddenly wakes up. When he opens his eyes, he sees Ryan standing there, staring at Ray Young. He becomes worried, looking at Ryan's psychopathic expression, and realizes that this is exactly the face he remembered seeing before. Once again, he thinks he must be imagining things because he just woke up. It has to be a misunderstanding. Ryan is a good girl, and she would not be crazy to that extent. But before he even notices, Ron is already behind him. She crouches down and starts touching his hair, thinking he looks very cute while sleeping. He is her beloved Giyoung Appa. With that psychopathic expression, she blushes deeply, feeling extremely happy as she touches him and watches him sleep. In her mind, he is her beloved Giyoung, and she will never let anyone else have him, thinking this with a completely psychopathic look on her face. The next day, after Giyoung wakes up, Hyunsung says that he looks a little tired, but Giyoung insists that he is fine. However, when he looks at Ryan and Dakigu, he sees Ryan blushing while Dakigu whispers some nonsense in her ear. He thinks that this is really strange, especially considering that look she had before. He cannot imagine Ryan being like that. Then he looks at the green-haired extra girl and thinks that maybe it's because he's been with Park Rae-young these past few days, and Ryan might have gotten jealous or something. Hyunsung then says that for today they will continue moving forward, and if they decide they can't keep going, it would be best to return to the resting area. He asks if everyone is okay with that, and they all agree and want to continue. Our boy keeps watching Ryan and Rae-young, and he is almost certain that Ryan is jealous of her. In the middle of their walk, he looks at her, notices a stone, and casually kicks it towards Ray Young's foot, making her trip. He immediately grabs her, tells her to be careful, and asks if she is okay. She responds with a disgusted expression, saying yes, while thinking that this guy is a bastard and wondering what he thinks he is doing. Then he looks back and sees Ryan radiating a completely terrifying aura with a cold stare on her face. Now he is absolutely certain that Ryan is jealous of Park Rae-young, and he starts thinking that this is not what he wanted. He only wanted a normal friendship, not something this intense. No matter how much he thinks about it, it all feels extremely strange. He never imagined any of this from the beginning. Meanwhile, the extra girl thinks that she can't take this anymore. How dare he use me like this? He must think he is easy. She tells herself to wait and see what she will do to him, and how much longer he will be able to underestimate her. In the middle of their walk, our boy senses a strange presence and looks back, thinking that something is there. Hyunsung says that he is starting to have hallucinations, and it feels like they are getting closer and closer. Now they need to speak more quietly because the enemies react to human voices. Our boy turns again and says that he is starting to sense something around them. Dakigu asks, "What do you mean? Did you see a monster hiding or something?" Hyunsung replies that he didn't tell them before, but he felt a very weak magical power, and it seems to be related to the next attack. In the back of his mind, our boy thinks that Hyunsung is acting like a regressor, only giving them hints. Dakigu then asks what exactly is in front of them, saying that they need to be careful, and he runs ahead to check if there is really something there.